Good morning. I'm back to this thing. I'll give you a recap real quick. I could play a video. Okay, the end of number 6, I went back and recapped a moment, was about her writing her sentences in front of the dining room window. It's always this, that, or the other thing with me. I don't mean to come off sounding disconnected or, unjangled, disjointed. Because I probably am. I've been through a lot. And I keep trying to go forward with it and go forward, which sometimes requires going backwards. But also, that would depend on what side of the thing you're looking at it from, whether it's forwards or backwards. But also, I touched a little bit on her not doing anything for the others. The girls that came about later with the accusations against their pastor, Scott Smith. Um, it was all about her. There's a large amount of conceit there, and I always felt that. But see, too, my medication figures into that. So I'm working out from under the years that not only are buried in time, but there was medication involved. And because I had been through so much that I ended up on medicine about a lot of it. But see, my thing about this was with the other girls, her not mentioning them or talking about what happened, because she didn't run away, as far as I know. We learned about the older brother running away, which I've touched on in previous video, but not her, and not from our house either. And for the years after she left, whether she was the older one or not, because I also touched on that she was 2 years older than everybody when she got to Sedalia schools, because either Iowa standards or because she was homeschooled. Either way, she was the oldest one and they looked up to her. Well, because that's what I felt was going on at school, that day that she did her boyfriend-girlfriend talk with them. They kind of looked up to her for being the oldest, which I mentioned. So if it was that way here in town at school, there's a good chance that the girls at the commune also looked up to her. That's just how it is. Especially her little cousins who got out of there with their mom and dad. They decided to break away, and a book came from that. And then the commune took it to court. Or the members did. They didn't want it published because they didn't want people, for one thing, to call it a cult. That was the technicality. That it was an intentional community, aka cult, and they didn't want it called a cult, even though uh, things I've read say it's a cult, because I guess it's a little harder to advertise and put the word out to get members when they did member recruiting. If you say it's a cult, I mean, can you see a flyer? Please join our cult. No, it can't be that way. There's a bit of taboo with that. She got the attention thrown off of Pastor Scott Smith. Used to decoy. The decoy tactic. well, we won't get Scott Smith in trouble because he's our beloved leader at the beloved, not a commune but a cult, but not a cult. It's an intentional community place we would die for, and we won't have any trouble with him. But he ended up getting trouble anyway because the other girls grew to understand that's what they needed to do. Or someone, maybe they went on a visitation to their real family and or their, biological family, and they got to talk to them. Takes some talking. So they decided, well, okay, we need to turn this stupid guy in, which they did. But see, here's her deal. To assist another in the commission of a crime by words or conduct is aid and abet. Her conduct aided and abetted another crime to be continued at the commune slash cult slash intentional community when she didn't say anything about those other girls. That's conduct that she could have turned around and said, look, I know I'm a real pea brain sometimes, and I got my little grievances, and I've got my little envies, and I got my little grudges, but those other girls are having a problem up there. Will someone please get this taken care of so they don't have to live their life like that under the control of a pastor who is displaying criminal behavior. And she could have said it in her own way, the same as she managed to say about that guy that supposedly raped her when she was 6 or 7. And then the mom's letter, I tried to find a couple of scans where the pieces I wanted to use to back my story up. I'm a big believer of backing my story up with, you know, concreteness. That, I don't know, I think I lost my train of thought again. And nobody thought to hold her criminally liable. Maybe they did, but they didn't say so. And even if they didn't say so, they didn't say so more specifically on paper. So, in effect, those girls that were left to the wolves, so to speak, of the commune were in a way her responsibility because of the, oh, I know what I was going to say, the guy with the report against him, that in the mom's letter, she said, well, we dropped that. Well, what good's that? She's got this mentality that if things don't go her way, it's rape. It's mind rape if I don't get my way. Because there's no other rape accounted for. There's no anything to account for it except for the ramblings of a girl who can make a report when she's 6 or 7, but the family's going to drop the issue, and who can make reports against other people to her mother, even though she's got a phone accessible and could call someone because she carries on phone calls with her mother through that time. Not the entire time. Her mom was busy recruiting members. But then they made it known they wanted phone time, which I was fine with. Have phone time I'll go busy myself doing other things. I don't have to be in the room, um, which I don't believe I was. I believe I was downstairs or at my perch in the dining room. But the fact of the matter remains. She had phone access at our house. It wasn't remote like the commune out in the acreage, hundreds of acres. It was smack dab in the middle of downtown Sedalia, Missouri. And right catty cornered across the street was this big old Catholic church. You couldn't miss it. You could almost throw a rock and hit it from as close as it was. Our house was one empty lot away from each corner. If you approached our house from the south, there was empty lot and then alley and then our house and then another empty lot and then Second Street. So on the block on the north, no wait, on the east facing block of that property, our house was the only house. And it was only 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nothing spectacular. It needed a lot of work, but I decided to take it on as a project that we were continually busying ourselves with. And right now, my big thing goes back to why did she aid and abet Pastor Scott Smith, who made national news for for trying to use religion as a basis for not having to wear an offender tracker surveillance bracelet, ankle bracelet. So maybe there was a payoff there somehow. Maybe he gave her extra portions of food if she envied somebody's pillows or said a swear word. Uh, maybe that's why they were so skinny to begin with. They thought, well, my mama is one of the main ones, so I can just be all the hellion I can be. La-di-da, I'm the boss. And thought, well, they're not going to ever lose their food. Well, maybe they did because they were just so skinny, raggedy. And it was excuse me, it was the same thing when I mentioned that the grandma had made a point to tell us that she had been a missionary years prior. And then, as a preacher's wife, they were missionaries. And you've heard about preacher's kids, the PKs, preacher's kids. They're like some of the worst ones because the burden is on them to be an example for the other kids. Well, that doesn't always fly. They don't want to be the example. They want to be the other kids. They want to be the ones having fun and getting to get dirty on Sunday and not have to wear dress-up clothes when they don't want to wear dress-up clothes and this kind of thing. And I can understand that mentality too, because although I wasn't a preacher's kid, I knew a preacher's kid or two, and I was a deacon's kid. So yeah, there is an expectation, but that doesn't uh, that doesn't give you a license to be bad. You know, just like having been abused is not a license to be an abuser. And some people don't have that in their head. They weren't taught right. Aside from being abused, I was taught right. I didn't want to do anything wrong and get in trouble and get abused because I'd already been abused. A person can only take so much. One way or another, they're either going to be a runner and get out of there and go hide, or, snap someone in the nose with their fist or something. Something's got to give. That's a breaking point.